Namaste, good morning. Namaste all, good morning. I'm very happy to be back again on my Facebook Live with the topic all about Ayurveda, know all about Ayurveda. So I thought I will choose this topic this time because I felt that there are lots and lots of myths which are to be cleared with respect to Ayurvedic system of medicine. So I thought for a change, this could be the topic. Okay. Namaste, good morning. I was just waiting if anyone more is coming. Okay, people are coming. I'm very happy to see you all once again. So that is why I chose this topic, because as we know, there are day by day we know that things are getting highly complicated, like things are deviating from the truth in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, what is considered as Ayurveda or Ayurveda as it is getting diverted. We are losing the very essence of science of Ayurveda. India is losing the essence of Ayurveda. So without the essence of core essence of Ayurveda, we cannot call something with a skeleton as Ayurveda. So that is the pathetic situation which is happening right now. So I thought I will prepare some questions based on that I will be speaking today. Okay, am I audible? Is it clear? My voice is clear to all of you? I hope that it is clear. I can't read the comments here. Okay, so the very first thing is that whether Ayurveda is a tradition or a science. So today you might have heard so many opinions like Ayurveda is a traditional system of India, Ayurveda is traditional science of India. Like that, so many different opinions are being given by people. So naturally, this program is intended for public generally. Okay, so if doctors are attending, no problem, but it is a talk intended for public, because public awareness is first and foremost important regarding a scientific topic. Okay, so here many people think that it is a tradition. So I would like to clarify how Ayurveda is, whether Ayurveda is a tradition or whether it is a science or whether it is just a concoct story. So many of you might be wondering why to think about like that. It is tradition itself. But no, Ayurveda is not a tradition. So with this thing to convey, whenever you hear that Ayurveda is traditional medicine, traditional science, tradition, etc., just understand that it is wrong. Ayurveda is a science. Ayurveda is a Shastra, precisely a Shastra. In modern terms, it is called a science. And science means scientia. It is derived from the term scientia, which means knowledge. So why it is not tradition? Let's remember or let's recollect the definition of tradition as per the WHO. Tradition is a set of culture, ideas, beliefs and practices. Okay, I repeat, culture, ideas, beliefs and practices which are transferred from generation to generation. That is what is called tradition. Is it clear? All can hear this? I hope it is clearly audible. If not, let me know through WhatsApp also, because my phone is near. I can see that. So tradition is a set of idea, belief, culture and experiences which are transferred from generation to generation. Whereas what is Shastra? Shastra means it is based on Ayurvedic Shastra. It is based on Siddhantas. Siddhantas means, what is Siddhanta? Siddhanta means theorems. So there is a fundamental infrastructure for the science of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is not culture, it is not belief, it is not ideas, just ideas of people or it is not practices which are transferred, a set of practices. Like in olden days, people were practicing this, so they have transferred from forefathers. Those practices have been transferred to next generation. Like that, it is being what is being continued. It is called tradition. Okay, there are so many different types of treatments, herbal treatments, which are prevailing in every part of India as tradition. Like forefathers, from forefathers they will be transferred to next generation, and people will be acquiring without, like, you don't need to have a specific criteria to qualify that. Okay, you can just continue what is taught by your forefathers without any question. They were doing such practices, you are doing same practices, you will be teaching that to your next generation. So like that it will be continued. That is called tradition. And also it is called ideas, sets, beliefs. It is a belief. Tradition is a belief. Whereas Shastra incorporates Siddhantas and Sutras. So that is the main speciality of a Shastra or a science. Ayurveda is a Shastra because it has incorporated Siddhantas and Sutras, a very, what you call, solid infrastructure of science, knowledge of basic and applied research is present in Ayurveda. It is documented in the ancient scientific treatises of Ayurveda. It is not like none of the acharyas. We have 3 authentic people to guide us. I mean, ancient scientists and clinicians of Ayurveda are 3, Charaka, Sushruta and Vagbhada. None of them had written that this is my experience, what I am documenting here. So you guys follow what I am telling. Like that no one told. No one, nowhere in Charaka, Sushruta or Ashtanga Sangraha it is written like these are experiences or these are anecdotes or these are beliefs or these are certain practices. No. Always what is incorporated to prove, to substantiate the scientificity of Ayurveda, they have incorporated Siddhantas and Sutras. What is Siddhanta? Siddhanta means Parikshagir Bahuvidham Parikshya Hedubhir Sadhayitva Sthapyade Nirnayaha. That is Siddhanta. So that definition is given by Charaka. Parikshagir Bahuvidham Parikshya. These logics or these things, theorems are being tested and experimented by multiple scientists. Parikshagir Bahuvidham Parikshya, in multiple ways, and the ways are also mentioned in Charaka Samhita, which are the ways adopted by ancient scientists to conduct basic and applied research. They are also, those methodologies, those techniques are also explained in ancient Ayurvedic treatises. So it is very well that Parikshagir Bahuvidham Parikshya Hedubhir Sadhayitva, most important point. It is being reasoned well by Hetu, that is the cause mechanisms responsible for a particular effect is being proven, is being rationalized, is being Sthapyade Nirnayaha. It is being established, not only rationalized, that rational is being established by many different types of experimental research conducted by different scientists for a long period. After that, what has emerged, they are called as Siddhantas, theorems. So, there are 2 types of reasoning in scientific research. One is deductive reasoning and second is inductive reasoning. For the sake of laymen, ordinary people, common people, they may not be knowing that scientific research, they might be hearing everywhere. The medicine is proven by scientific research. People will be wondering, oh, what? So, wow, scientific research. What is this scientific research? Actually, there are 2 ways, deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. I will simplify it and tell you. Okay, so deductive reasoning means, I will give you an example. Mr. Parameswaran is a man. All men are mortal. Okay, I am making a statement that all men are mortal. All men will die. Mr. Parameswaran is a man. So I am concluding that Mr. Parameswaran will also die. So all men are mortal is the background which I have taken. Background theory. Theory that all men are mortal I am adopting. Mr. Parameswaran, I understand that is a man. And from that I conclude that, I confirm that Mr. Parameswaran will die. So this kind of reasoning is called as deductive reasoning. Okay, so this kind of deterministic thinking, like based on Siddhantas. So Siddhantas are theorems, they are not theories. So all men are mortal means it is a theorem. It is already proven and established fact. Such proven and established facts are explained in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, there is nothing called theories. You will not find semi-proven things, partially proven things. You will find only completely proven things like mathematics. You know, in mathematics also deductive reasoning is applied. Like, you know, whatever shape triangle is, the sum of angles of all angles of a triangle will be 180 degree. That is proven and established. You know, whatever shape triangle is, whatever size triangle is, the sum of angles of all angles of that triangle is 180 degree. So you don't need to measure each and every triangle and confirm that it is 180 degree. If you are measuring like that, it is fine. You will be able to conclude, you will be able to confirm that the Siddhanta is true. So verifying Siddhantas is what is required in applied research in Ayurveda. Why? Because it is a deterministic science. It has a solid and stable background science. Okay, it's not based on uncertainty or empiricism. This kind of deductive knowledge, deductive reasoning is applied in the scientific research of Ayurveda. And the other type is called inductive reasoning. I'll give you one example, like a cat hissing at the dog. You are finding one cat hissing at the dog. You are finding 3 cats. You are observing cats, whether they are hissing at the dogs. So you are finding 4 cats hissing at the dog, 5 cats, 6 cats. Like that you have observed 100 cats hissing at the dogs. So you are concluding that cats hiss at the dogs. So is it correct or not? So you are making a generalized statement based on observations. You have observed one cat that it is hissing at the dog. Second cat, third cat, fourth cat, you are believing more and more. And 100 cats, you have decided that cats hiss at the dog. Whenever cats meet dogs, they will hiss. So is it correct or not? It may not be correct. You cannot say that all the cats will hiss at the dog. Sometimes the very 101st cat, it will not hiss at the dog, right? So there is no validity for such kind of reasoning. Whatever you see, you are making a data. You are analyzing the data. Second cat, data. Third cat. No, you are making a population data, not even individual data. 100 cats hiss at the dog. So generalized conclusion, you make a theory that cats hiss at the dog. So the theory, there is no conclusion or there is no certainty that it is 100% correct. So it is logically fallible. It is not logically valid. This kind of inductive reasoning. Suppose you are going out without umbrella in rain. I mean, you find that external sky is sunny. So you are getting out without umbrella because you think that before when sky was sunny, I went out without umbrella and everything was fine. But that day when you go out, rain is coming. So you have no umbrella. So sometimes nature itself can have, the rules of nature might change. And what you see, what I mean to say is that what you see is not always 100% correct. There should be some knowledge. There should be some solid knowledge. Not some knowledge. There should be some cause mechanism effect explaining knowledge. The knowledge which is very specific and highly specialized, which explain that for this cause, this mechanism, and by this mechanism, this effect will happen. So such a knowledge is needed to guide us in research. Unfortunately, in modern medicine, such a kind of guidance is not there. So they have to completely depend upon inductive reasoning. That is what is statistics is doing. So statistics and mathematics are entirely different. Ayurveda follows mathematics, deductive reasoning, deterministic reasoning. We want conclusion. Actually, when we find that in a group of 100 people, by this cause, same identical group, this cause, this mechanism, cause mechanisms are identical in a group of 100 people means effect will be same in all the 100 people. Suppose you are giving a medicine recommended by science. It's not recommended by drug manufacturers as in modern science. It is recommended by the specific logic in science. For this situation, you apply this logic. That's what I said, exactly like mathematics. For this problem solving, you choose this logic from science. You treat this patient by this principle. There are diagnostic and treatment principles explained in Ayurveda. It's not like medicine. Therapeutic formulary, fever is not even a symptom in Ayurveda. Fever is a disease in Ayurveda. So all the probable cause mechanisms which can lead to fever in man in the past, present and future are explained with the most subtle manner. Okay, that is complete. Like there cannot be a mechanism beyond that which can cause fever in man. So as long as man exists as man, these cause mechanisms will be similar. External circumstances may vary, but human body response to external circumstances remain constantly the same. So this is the success of science of Ayurveda. So inductive reasoning we cannot apply because we don't need to observe things and study, because science is asking us, you observe this like you understand this patient like this. You observe the patient in these ways, and these ways are not mere experiences or opinions of the ancient stalwarts. They are not opinions. They are confirmed Siddhantas and Sutras, which are confirmed after conducting basic and applied research for many years. So we can consider them as valid evidence base for our applied research and clinical practice. Okay, so suppose we are observing hippopotamus. We think that it is elephant and we are conducting study in hippopotamus by inductive reasoning. Because it has got very thick, rough skin, it is black in color. We think that it is elephant because we don't know. We are seeing it for the first time. Is it not? So we think that it is elephant. Somehow we have a guess. We make a hypothesis that it is elephant. We are studying hippopotamus as elephant for 100 years and we say that we are updating. Is that updation anyway valid for our research or for the people? Even after conducting hundreds of years of research on hippopotamus, thinking like it is elephant also, there will be no exploration of truth possible. Why? Because the fundamental knowledge of elephant is lacking. So this fundamental knowledge is very important. So today Western science tells that it is chemistry that is important. Chemistry application is happening in human body. So but the thing is that we cannot make like whatever changes are happening, chemical changes are happening inside the human body. Is it possible to reproduce those chemical changes in a lab and produce life? It is never possible because these chemical processes are happening in organic human body. Human body means it is working, it is dynamic human body. So whatever digestion is a chemical process, I agree. There are certain chemical process in digestion. There is a chemical process going on in respiration. There is a chemical process going on in carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism. I agree. But they are not the real, you cannot say that digestion is a chemical activity. Chemical activity is there in digestion, that is true. But digestion is not a chemical activity. Respiration is not a chemical activity. It is a biological activity. So this biological things, biological phenomena is very, very deeply subtlemost knowledge of all the organic phenomena in a working human being or in a live human being is explained in Ayurvedic science. That is why chemistry is not explained in Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, functional biology or organic biology, because we are dealing with human body and we cannot compare human body with that of a machine or a lab, an artificial setting. Machine means, as rightly told by Alexis Carrel sir, in Nobel laureate, who had written Man the Unknown. He had written that man is primarily simple, secondarily complicated, and machine is primarily complicated, secondarily simple. Once you understand all the parts of machine, machine gets simple. But that is not the case of man. When you look at man, only this much is there. But when you go deep into the man, it is least explored in the modern science. So this is what is real. So for understanding this, some solid fundamental knowledge is required. So we have to confidently. So dear Ayurveda friends, you should be knowing that how and why Ayurveda is scientific. So this is the reason to substantiate scientificity of Ayurveda. And application of physics also is least important because it is a biological system. And of course, diagnostic aids, all the diagnostic aids which are used by Western medicine are helping us in making our diagnosis in our own perspective more pinpoint. For that, they are helping to some extent. But as I always tell my patients, we are not treating the blood reports, we are treating the patient. So it is immaterial. What your blood report is immaterial to you. It is just for my reference and not for your reference. So these things you should know. Okay. So this is the first point I wanted to let you know. And next question was that all diseases are equally important to resolve a problem. Yes, so when you are going to an Ayurveda doctor, sometimes you will be going for a thyroid issue, or you may be going for treating allergy. That time when you approach a doctor, you may be telling that I am having this allergic problem for this many days. You will think that why to tell about other things, hypertension, or sometimes you may be on antihypertensives, you may be on thyroid drugs. So many things, right? So you will be telling the doctor, I am having running nose or asthma or whatever it is for this and this complaints. But this is not right way, because Ayurveda doesn't treat complaints. Ayurveda treats the patient. So what all things which made you not well are all equally important for our system. It's not like you are having pain. Give me something to kill pain. Some patients will come and tell. So for us, it is really difficult to kill pain without understanding what exactly has initiated pain in your case in that time. That is very important. The person who is having acidity kind of pain for long, okay, he is having acidity kind of pain for long. One moment he developed similar kind of pain and he is coming to you, coming to us and telling that I am having acidity. That is wrong. You should not diagnose and tell the patient, tell the doctor. It is the doctor's duty to diagnose your condition. So all the things, all the signs and symptoms, whether you are on any other diseases, because all your symptoms are interconnected. Okay, all your diseases are interconnected. Developing at the same time is interconnected. Sometimes you might have had yesterday one patient came, she was having a dysentery. After settling the dysentery by antibiotics, she started getting piles, constipation and hemorrhoids, and followed by that she got fissure also now. So the dysentery was stopped. Afterwards she started all these problems. So sometimes another problem can develop as a complication of the previous problem. Sometimes it can be by mismanagement of the previous problem, or sometimes unresolved previous problem, or sometimes a new problem, which is because of some alteration in the pathway of the old problem. Anyway, all the problems which are present at the same time are equally important for us. And you cannot think that by antihypertensive, your hypertension is controlled. For us, scientific Ayurveda practitioners, the anti-hypertensive drugs means they are not solving hypertension for SBEBA practitioners, because we know that what these anti-ing drugs are doing, not only for BP, cholesterol or diabetes, whatever it be. So we cannot take that off from our mind and treat for your arthritis or thyroid. When we are treating you, we will be integrating all the different problems in you. Sometimes for which you are on medications or not medication, it is immaterial for us. When we are treating, I mean science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda practitioners, when you are approaching, it is really important that you should be telling all the problems, because we cannot do such a thing where we can treat and cure your arthritis and forget your BP or forget your thyroid. Nothing like that. If we are treating you, we are treating you and not any of your single problem. So what happens is, when you are recovering from one problem, you are recovering from all other problems also, and you are retaining your health. So this is our objective. Our objective is this: you should be normal. It's not like thyroid value should be normal or you should not get allergy. Not like that. You should be healthy. That is the objective of scientific Ayurveda. So, tadhaiva yuktam vaishajyam yad arogyaya kalpade. The objective of Ayurveda is not making benefits and risk. It is reversal of disease and health. So, with this responsibility, we, the SBEBA practitioners, are working. So, you should be very honestly telling all your problems with in a correct series. What started first, what followed next. And no use of telling the doctors who have treated you. All these are waste of time. I have been treated by medical college or Ayurveda college. Or these things are immaterial to us. But if it is important to know the entire history of the disease, how and how it started, how and how it got managed, what all things happened next. All these things are very important for us. So you should not miss those points. Okay. So that is one thing. Then what do you know, what you do not know regarding Ayurveda does not exist in Ayurveda. So many of you think that, especially if you are born in Ayurveda families, like traditions, Ayurveda tradition families, like Ayurveda Vaidyas were there in ancient tradition. Like those families you are born, you will have a feeling that I know everything about Ayurveda because my forefathers, what they are doing, I have heard through my grandparents or whoever it is who is coaching me. So I know everything about Ayurveda. No, it is wrong. Why? Because Ayurveda is not tradition. Ayurveda is Shastra. There are Shastra Arthas in Ayurveda. The true intentions of scientific verses of Ayurveda you should be knowing. If you are able to study Ashtanga, Hridaya, Charaka, Sushrudha, that is fine. You can study them. But you should be able, if you have to become a successful quality scientific practitioner, you should be knowing the real intentions or meanings of those scientific verses in practice. Like when a patient comes to you, of course you may go for BAMS sometimes. And if you are going for BAMS, if you are not going for BAMS, you are a pakka quack if you practice. That is another thing. But if you are going for BAMS, it is your responsibility to become scientific practitioners and not tradition-oriented practitioners. So it doesn't mean that there will be some beliefs, like Karkadaga Chikitsa in Ayurveda, in Malayalam, Kerala. People are going for Karkadaga therapies. Actually, there is nothing called Karkadaga therapies in science. Science of Ayurveda recommends certain practices which are to be followed according to the state and stage of your body in every season. It's not like monsoon season alone. There are 6 seasons. Or the 6 seasons, what all simple things, like what all things you have to consider yourself. And more important, what your status is, what your state and stage of body is, whether you are a healthy person or sick person. If you are a sick person, what kind of diseases do you have? Are those diseases resolved or not? Okay, if you are diabetic, if you are having cholesterol, if you are having allergy, you are going for enhancing health. What a foolishness it is. You cannot create health if you are sick. So if you are sick by any means, let it be hypertension, you are on anti-ing drugs, you are on dyslipidemia, statins, you are on other drugs for allergy, you want to make health, and you are doing package therapies, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And people will tell that those diseases are considered in this. So my dear friends, actually there is no need of expensive package therapies to reverse hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, allergy, infection, inflammation. For reversing all these, there is no need of package therapies. Please trust me, I am telling for your benefit. What else do I get by telling truth here? So please trust me, you are not going to reverse those diseases by undergoing this what you call Panchakarma therapies and all, dyslipidemia, because all these are happening by impaired metabolism. Okay, impaired metabolism is causing all these things. So in impaired metabolic status, if you are going to admit and they will be doing abhyanga like oil application, sometimes you may be having inflammatory diseases, sometimes you may be having immune disorders. So your state and stage of body is not considered, and you are doing all the contraindicated sort of procedures, means that may even trigger a heart attack, that may even trigger a stroke, which is happening really in society today. So just understand that science is very science recommends means, Ayurvedic science recommend means to reverse disease by the most simplified techniques. That is what is called brilliant science. When the science is brilliant, it doesn't need so many medicines and techniques to make the person reverse the disease and secure health. Okay, so this is very important. 7 days, 14 days. Sometimes you may be told that as your disease is chronic, deep-seated, for 15 years diabetes. I have reversed 15 years diabetes in about 3 weeks without any Panchakarma by fragments of tablet. This is not for advertisement, I am telling. Please don't misunderstand me. So it is the brilliance of the science. Not only me, SPEBA practitioners are doing this. So please understand that it is not regarding the expense of treatment that will making you healthy. Rather, it should be more simplified. It should be on the target. It should be without disturbing your routines as much as possible. So this is what. So what you do not know about this. You might be having Ayurveda requires in IP treatments like inpatient. You will be asked to admit, and you will be undergoing several procedures like procedure after procedure. A patient will not get time to take rest. That many procedures. Already he is having a disease. He is weak by the disease without scientifically understanding the etiopathogenesis of the multi-tangled pathogenesis in his body. The procedures are being done one after another, starting from morning to night. And in between, so much of nutritious food in the form of fruits and dairy products or whatever it is. Sometimes it can be some tender coconut, or I don't know exactly, because I have heard from my patients only. All these things will be administered, and many of the things will be contraindicated, and finally they are discharging you and asking you to come back again after a specific interval. Such a kind of treatment is not recommended in Ayurvedic science. Ayurvedic science is recommending to treat the patient with most minimum medicine. Nacha kriya sangaro hida. You should not mix different therapies and different logics. When you are treating patient, you should be knowing what you are doing. So that is what is called transparency. You should be knowing the logic. Based on what logic in science you have diagnosed the patient. What is your reasoning for your diagnosis? What logic you are choosing to reverse your patient status? How can you substantiate that you are right? So everything should be based on inbuilt scientific standards of science. And when another doctor whom you have conveyed the logics, when that same doctor is applying the same logic in the same identical patient, identical cause mechanisms, he should be getting the same result. That is what is called transparency. So it is the logics which deserve to be tested, which deserve to be verified, which deserve to be experimented, and of course 10 patients or 100 patients trial. It is not that 70 patients got benefits and 30 patients got risk. Nothing like that. In Ayurvedic scientific research, if the logic chosen is correct, it should be producing intended effects in all the 100 patients with health. That is the objective of Ayurvedic research. Otherwise, the logics are wrong. That's what I am telling. Deductive reasoning is important. We have stable principles. In Western medicine, their research is starting from unknown compound. So unknown compound, they are framing hypothesis, they are doing experiments in different stages, and finally they are trying to make theories. And these theories may constantly get changed. But we are starting from theorems and principles. We are experimenting, we are verifying the logics of theorems, and we are confirming the logics. So both are entirely different. So I don't know why, how I can convey this to respected Prime Minister of India. He also thinks that every Ayurveda medicine has to be tested one after another, and some corona medicine has to be invented by someone. It is absolutely wrong. So this kind of science-based, evidence-based medicine that was proposed to Honorable Prime Minister. Now also it is there in his office. But what to do? So this is the condition. So you have so many myths like this. That's why I am telling all this. Okay. So there is no symptom alleviation in Ayurveda. So that is another thing. So symptom alleviation. So we are not doing any magic to suppress your symptom. What is the symptom control? Symptom control means reduction in pain, right? If you are controlling pain means reduction of pain. We are not reducing pain. SBABA practitioners cannot reduce pain. SBABA practitioners can only reverse pain. We cannot reduce pain. Of course, reversal will happen stage by stage. That is correct. But when we withdraw the medicine, immediately pain will not shoot up. Such a kind of thing is called control. We don't have control. We have only techniques of reversal. And it is very fast also. Why? Because we are focusing on cause mechanisms of symptoms. Exact cause mechanisms of symptoms we can understand by applying the logics in the science. So we can correctly on to the target, we can aim. We can choose medicine fragments. So I am treating by granules of medicine, not even one tablet, granules I am giving to my patient. But still within half an hour, if I am monitoring the subject with suppose endometriosis pain or even abdomen pain, inflammatory pain, within half an hour or within 15 minutes itself, patient will report pain 50% reduced or 40% reduced, and within 1 hour pain is zero. How does that happen? This is not magic. This is science. This is only what is called science. I would like to emphasize that this is only what is called as science. Control of symptoms is not science. How can control become science? Because when the medicine is withdrawn, immediately pain is coming back. No. This is simple common sense. No. It is just an adjustment and not a treatment. So exactly science means that logics which are able to probe into the pathogenesis, understand it, act on it, reverse the pathogenesis and show in the patient. Patient will be smiling. When the patient is coming to the clinic, he will be crying. After 45 minutes, he will be smiling. That is what is called science. And we all Ayurveda doctors are intended to become science-led, evidence-based medical practitioners. We are not meant to control or alleviate or suppress or alter or mask or block symptoms. We are meant only to reverse the disease and make the person healthy. We are not meant to make the patient just comfortable for the time. We are meant to make the patient reverse the disease and make comfortable forever till another pathogenesis develop. Okay, so this is what our aim is. And next is Ayurveda is meant for acute, but generally there is a misbelief that Ayurveda is meant for chronic diseases. It is not like that. First of all, how this chronicity develops? Chronicity is developing by mismanagement of acute diseases. See, when acute diseases, one inflammation develops. Inflammation is not reversed properly. Inflammation will stay there and it will produce stronger and stronger. Inflammation may spread to related nerves and blood vessels and muscles and everywhere. It may become pain, grade will increase. So that is what is called chronic inflammation. Sometimes chronic inflammation can be silent also, as in the case of diabetes, in the case of heart attack, etc. Patient may not be having any signs till it causes complete hypoxia and heart attack symptoms. So it can be acute or chronic, but always most of the diseases acute stage. Acute stage means sudden onset stage. At that stage, if it is getting reversed, there is no chronicity. Any disease like that, even skin disease, skin infections. Skin infections are very improperly managed by Ayurveda doctors. I'm not blaming Ayurveda doctors. It is all because of deeply flawed educational system of BAMS. I must not hide the truth. This all are happening because of very poor, deteriorated quality of standard of BAMS professional education. We are learning science for exams, for theory exams, and not for practice. Nobody is teaching students exactly the pathology, how it has to be understood in the patients, how it has to be translated, diagnostic and treatment principles, what to assess in the patient, when to assess, how to assess. Everything is not taught in any of the teaching OPDs properly, scientifically. So we are getting diffident Ayurveda doctors who will either go for Western medicine practice, or who will do mixopathy, or who will do integrated medicine, something like that. New fashion has emerged. So this is all happening because of poor, flawed education. So this 5%, less than 5% cases only require hospitalization. Rest of the diseases, let me repeat, less than 5% of cases only require hospitalization in Ayurveda. All the diseases today can be classified as infective, inflammatory, metabolic, hormonal, neuronal. Okay, so all the diseases can be classified under these headings. So these diseases are to be explored in Ayurvedic scientific perspective. How to understand infection in Ayurveda, how to understand viral fever in Ayurveda, how to understand SLE inflammation in Ayurveda. Very specifically, Ayurveda students must know, Ayurveda doctors must know, Ayurveda faculties must know. For that, SBABA is the first venture. I surrender to God, and I'm very happy to say that SBABA, or science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda, is the very first updated venture in Ayurveda. Updating venture in Ayurveda, which has explored infective diseases, inflammatory, metabolic, hormonal, and neuroendocrine problems. Everything is explored in Ayurvedic perspective and already published, and we are conducting training programs for Ayurveda students, professional Ayurveda students, physicians and faculties in all over India, now currently as webinars also. So this, our only objective is to emerge scientific practitioners of Ayurveda. We wanted this to be adopted by the government. We have sent so many requests to government. Till before 1 month, we were requesting government continuously, but no response came. So what we can do? We can only start as a parallel system to initiate this scientific, how to inculcate scientific thinking in the brains of Ayurveda students and doctors. So this is what we are doing. Then effect and side effect. So regarding, recently I used to hear, excuse me for a moment. Recently, I happened to listen to a doctor of modern medicine. He was talking that actually Western medicine we have got effects. That's why we are getting side effects. So Ayurveda, they don't have any effects. That's why it is just like placebo. That's why they don't have side effects. So I thought this has to be included in today's live. What the exact thing is. So Ayurveda has got side effects. Ayurveda has got effect. But the thing is that Ayurveda has got intended effect, not benefits. Okay, today in Western medicine, treatment is done to produce benefits and risk. Because it is an unknown compound they are starting from. They cannot say that this compound will produce health in the patient. So what they are analyzing is benefits and risk. So definitely when you try to create benefits, definitely there will be risk also. Okay, because there is, the logic is always blocking, masking, alteration, suppression. These are the logics adopted in Western medicine pharmacology. The drugs are meant to do all these things: suppressing synthesis, blocking pathways, masking, stimulating, like that, so many. So it is nothing natural. Everything is like abnormal, making the physiology abnormal. Okay, some sort of adjustment. So like this it is being done. So definitely if you are trying to produce benefits, when you block pain, relief will happen, but definitely there will be side effects, because you are not reversing pain, you are blocking pain, right? And the compound is unknown. It is a chemical compound. We cannot say what all things will happen by that chemical compound. So risks are there, identified and unidentified risks are there. But in Ayurveda, actually the science is choosing medicine. We are not starting from unknown compounds. We are starting from classical formulations of Ayurveda, are all science-led, evidence-based formulations. There is definite pharmacodynamics and kinetics explained in each and every formulation. Okay, how to choose medicine, we have specific and specialized guidelines in Ayurvedic clinical pharmacology. So a scientific practitioner of Ayurveda is choosing medicine by analyzing all these logics, and he is choosing evidence-based formulation. So we are not starting from unknown compound. We are starting with evidence-based formulation, and the evidence is there in our science. It is science-based evidence. And second, sometimes we may not need medicine also. Sometimes we will apply logics through water. We will give medicated water, or we will alter the diet, or we will do some scientific regimen we will initiate in the patient, like you do this kind of exercise for 15 minutes, or we will ask the patient to wait until the best onset of hunger. Like that, we will be doing some sort of regimen alteration. So that is also scientific in our science. So such kind of things we are doing, and our aim is not to create benefits and risk. Our aim is solely to reverse the pathology, reverse the pathogenesis, and produce health. So we are creating intended effects. We are not creating benefits and risk. Right now, Ayurveda doctors are doing different. SBA practitioners are always focusing on creating intended effects. And risk means our risk is health. If health is considered to be a risk, the only risk that we make in Ayurveda, scientific Ayurveda or science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda, is health. So suppose a patient is treated for back pain, inflammation. So inflammation is the pathology identified. We have our own technical diagnosis. I'm not going into details because it is a talk meant for laymen. So when we are treating inflammation, patient might be on sometimes antihypertensive drugs. We will be stopping that because we cannot do such a treatment which will be interfered by anti-drugs. We cannot make the target, we cannot reach the target by doing that. So we will be considering the integrated pathology in the patient. So when we are reversing inflammation, the patient's BP will be normal without any anti-drugs. Like when you are discharging or after treatment also, patient's BP will be normal. With some medicated water, it will be continued forever. And sometimes some other diseases the patient is having, that also will be resolved. So you are treating for diabetes or hypertension, one disease, but as you tell us, other problems are there. We are understanding everything together. We are integrating, we are applying minimum medicine onto the target, connective links, and we are resolving the problems, not problem. And we are making you healthy. We are trying to make you healthy. So once this is attained, where is risk? So once you are using pure medicines, quality control, there are good Ayurveda manufacturers today who adopt quality control, good quality control procedures, like Ayurveda Nilayam is there, Cortical is there, Vaidyaratnam is there. So many manufacturers are there who are undergoing very good quality control procedures. So by giving very small doses of classical medicines, evidence-based formulations, where is risk? There is no risk. Risk is happening when you are choosing wrong medicine, when you are diagnosing wrong, when you are giving wrong medicine in the status, contraindicated status, you are doing procedures, you are doing endless procedures in a person in a contraindicated status, you are trying to go in a very uncertainty based way. So like that, if you are going, there can be risk, that is sure. But don't blame medicines for your risk. The risks are given, the risks are created by you. I mean, the risk is created by the practitioner and not the system. So in Ayurveda, the risk is happening because of poor comprehension and poor application of the science, incorrect application of the science. Whereas in Western medicine, actually they all are doing in the same way. They are all diagnosing and treating almost in the same way. Risk is happening beyond their control. Beyond their control. Of course, medical errors may be there. I'm not denying that fact. But most of the good doctors will be treating in a uniform manner as recommended by the guidelines. But it is happening because person to person variation can happen in the response to the drug. So this is why it is happening. So this is one thing which I would like to know. And also this what you call blood clotting mechanisms. Clotting mechanisms were observed in COVID-19 patients. So clotting mechanism, clotting drug is administered for that. So this is very much impure treatment in Ayurveda. If you find clotting mechanisms in infection, there are scientific principles in our text which make us understand that clotting can be a part of inflammation. Okay, so when we are reversing inflammation, naturally there is no chance of clotting or there is no chance of any other complication to happen in the patient. So it may not be like we are always guided by our science, and our science is based on deductive reasoning. So this is the difference between Ayurveda and Western medicine. And it is, so next is Pathya. So Pathya means scientific diet. That scientific practitioner of Ayurveda will be inevitably recommending you scientific diet. Why? Because it is something like food is causing, food and water you drink. You are continuously taking food, you are continuously drinking water. So these two things will definitely cause a significant impact in your body. Okay, it's not just like the chemical composition of the food or the nutritional value of the food that only creates an impact in your body, but it is the interaction between the nature of the food, the biological behavior of food inside your body and the response of your body towards that food. That is explained in our science. That's why we call it organic science. Complete functional, whatever things we interact with, human beings interact with, the nature of those substances, those regimen, and the impact, biological interaction between those things and our body cells are explained in our science. So we are able to modify a person's disease condition by giving the scientific diet. Scientific diet means by scientifically modifying the behavior of the foods which the patient is consuming. So we can understand which all, it is explained in our science. Food after food, all the foods which are generally consumed by Indian patients, foreign patients, we can study them based on their ingredients. So we will be, anyway cereals are there, fruits are there, vegetables are there, meat is there, eggs are there. All the properties are explained in our science. So chicken is hot means pepper is hot. Means when you put in tongue, pepper will be hot. You understand that pepper is hot. Chicken is hot, how will you know? People will laugh. Actually, Western practitioners, I have seen doctor laughing, one doctor laughing at me when I told curd is hot, so it should not be consumed. So in the so and so disease, chicken is hot. They will be laughing at us. But just imagine a person with hemorrhoids, bleeding hemorrhoids. You just give chicken and observe what is happening. Don't give any medicine. Just observe. Give chicken and observe what is happening next day bowel movement. You don't need to wait for 1 week. A person who is having rhinitis or infection or inflammation, give curd. Curd you are studying means give curd and observe what is happening. So nature and biological behavior of foods is explained only in our science. Fish will increase bleeding. So people will consume fish as it is contains or omega-3 fatty acids. First of all, omega-3 fatty acid is different from fish. Omega-3 fatty acid is just one component in the fish. Okay, if you consume too much of fish by considering omega-3 fatty acid, fish as such, how it will produce, how it will work in your body is explained in our science of Ayurveda. Fish can cause all these things in your body. So if for a healthy person who is having good metabolism, good digestion, good hormonal, optimum hormones, etc. will not be affected. It will be body will be adapted to these foods. But at the time of disease, it's really important for a scientific practitioner of Ayurveda to modify the diet and regimen in accordance to the disease pathogenesis and reverse the disease. Because we are meant to reverse the disease. We are not meant to do any adjustment. So patient will enjoy scientific diet. Why? Because his symptoms will start subsiding within hours, within minutes. Once scientific diet and medicated water started means patient is protected and safe. And patient will be experiencing in his own body how this diet is protecting him, how it is helping him to recover. So 95% to 99% patients of me now cooperate with the scientific diet. 1% sometimes I will need to stop their treatment and send them back. It's not necessary that it should not be the necessity of Ayurveda doctors to reverse the patient's illness. It is the necessity of each and every one of us. If we are a patient, it is our priority to reverse our disease. Don't expect that it is doctor's duty to reverse your disease. If you eat so many things, like all the unscientific things you will be dumping in your body, you cannot survive without chicken, without fish, without chocolates. Some mothers will tell my child will drink only Boost. Doctor, if you are cutting Boost, what will I give? It is as if Boost is the only drink for the child. Like that things are going now. How dangerous it is. So children are to be trained from the very young age itself that it is their responsibility to take care of the body and no one else is responsible. So they should be taught scientific healthcare habits at the time of health and infection or inflammation, whatever it is. I am doing with my kids and my patients and my society as much as possible. Okay, so this program is also a part of that. So it is not like pathya is not forever. Till recovery only scientific diet is advised. Whenever you become sick, you will be advised scientific diet for your fast recovery. It's not for us, it's for you. And after you recover, you can enjoy the previous diet with the self-realization that so and so foods can cause an increasing susceptibility in your body cells to develop so and so infection. With that self-realization, you can enjoy everything, but you have to increase your metabolism by exercise. You have to sip hot water, medicated water should be continued. That will be ideal for you. Palatability of medicine is not a problem in SBEBA. We are giving granules of medicine only. It's not a problem. Children may not be aware that they are taking medicine, that much small dose. And prognosis of Ayurveda is entirely different from Western medicine. Western medicine doctors, what they are telling, you should not teach us back here. That doctor told I will need surgery. That doctor told. So that is up to their system. Based on their system they are talking. For us, everything is new regarding you. Let us study you first. Let us see the reports. Let us examine you. Let us study your condition. Let us analyze your condition based on our science. Standards in our science, and we will be telling you the prognosis, whether it is treatable, curable, reversible, or you will need surgery or not. Many of the surgical conditions are reversed by SBEBA. Many surgical cases are reversed. There are many different types like endometriosis, appendicitis, DUB, hysterectomy advice for DUB. So many cases are there which are being reversed. Abscess, means many things are there, but these are to be assessed by a proper scientific SBABA practitioner. He will be able to tell you whether you will go back, you will need to go back for surgery. Actually, joint replacement surgeries, large number of joint replacement surgeries are avoided. Patients can now, one of my patient went to a hill station also after that treatment. Treatment doesn't mean complicated procedures for endless period. That's what I'm telling. It is most simplified, scientific, on the target treatment. So Ayurveda can cure cancer, AIDS. We are not curing diseases, we are curing patients. So I cannot make a general statement that SBABA can cure cancer, SBABA can cure AIDS. We cannot tell that. We have to see the patient, what stage, what status, and we have to assess them based on the science of Ayurveda. We cannot make a generalized remark that cancer is incurable, AIDS is curable, AIDS is nothing like that. We have to see the patient, and many times we have to initiate the treatment and evaluate the patient for the response. The patient will have to wait for 1 or 2 weeks for initial response, how he is responding to this. But all the infections means COVID-19 and all, infections are reversible generally in 3 days, not more than 3 days. All the viral and bacterial fevers are reversible by SBABA guidelines. That is for sure in the early stage itself. But if the patient is coming complicated stage also, we can reverse it by scientific diet and medicated water and SBABA medicine. Okay, so that is possible. Then hair, what is it? Fairness, weight, muscle building medicines, all these are stupidity. There is no medicine intended for improving fairness. You are wasting so much of money for all these things. There is no this medicine, that disease approach in Ayurveda, scientific Ayurveda. Please understand that if you are buying fairness medicine for your daughter to get married, or some, what you call, increasing youth medicines for yourself, or for hair loss, if you are buying oils, just remember that it is waste of time, money and resources. Okay, don't waste your money for that. It is because of alteration in the health status that you are having increased hair loss. If your complexion is healthy, that is important. If you are having faded complexion by some disease, that pathology has to be reversed. You will become beautiful naturally. If you are having increased body weight, your body metabolism has to be stimulated. That only a scientific practitioner of Ayurveda can do treatment for you and make your weight optimum. Same in the case of lean people also. Most of the things, height, etc. are there in the genes. You cannot change the genes with any medicine. Please understand me, these things are very worst part of Ayurveda now. Don't go for any Ayurvedic things, adjective Ayurveda, by believing that you will change with these products. Okay, that is very important. And research is a recommended enterprise in Ayurveda. I already explained that point. Research is very much explained in Ayurveda. There is a reference that Parikshakarino Kushalo Bhavanti. Parikshakarino means only a scientist or a person who is conducting research will become excellent in medical practice. But the difference between Western medicine and Ayurveda is that in Western medicine, research is intended for developing medicine, whereas in Ayurveda, research is intended for reversing the disease in the patient and making him healthy. So research is 100% a clinical enterprise in Ayurveda. It is for correct clinical practice, accurate clinical practice, that research is intended for in Ayurveda, and not for developing new drugs. So this is a main difference between research in Western medicine and Ayurveda. And last, healthcare package therapies. I told you there is nothing like that. Healthcare is not an expensive thing. Please take it from me. A healthcare means what? If you are healthy, you need to care your health by drinking, by boosting your metabolism, by drinking boiled water, eating light when you are hungry, eat only when you are hungry. You do exercise morning and evening 20 minutes each. Okay, whatever exercise you enjoy, it should be completely body moving exercises. climb up stairs, or jogging, skipping, according to your age you can choose. Walking, not mere slow walking, you have to walk little bit fast. And exercises should be done in the empty stomach. You have to eat light, don't eat frequently, like your body is not a bag to load foods into. Okay, so just give your body time for digestion, assimilation, etc. So allow yourself to be hungry when you are eating. Sip hot water if you are not hungry. Do exercise and always stay with a complete positive mind by avoiding stress as much as possible. Reduce stress by prayers, regular prayers, and when a small health problem comes, check with science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda practitioner. Primary care, SBBA is mainly intended for primary health care in India. Actually, we are primary care physicians. We can attend all the problems in the first stage itself and reverse the status of the patient. When we are doing that, we are protecting each and every one of you from a series of diseases, unwanted surgeries, unwanted medications, unwanted hospitalization, and unwanted ICU admission. We are saving you from that by this science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda. So, any small problem, you should have the education, primary education regarding what to do when a pain comes in your body. Sudden pain, it can be inflammatory or obstructive, or it can be, it will not be degenerative, sudden pain. So like that, some common sense knowledge is required for individuals, every citizen of India, which can be provided by science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda, not by conventional Ayurveda practitioners. Why? Because it is not there in conventional education. Okay. And expenses can be very less. India will become a very developed country if SBEBA is adopted as the primary healthcare system of India. India will become very much rich because people will be saving their working days. Man days are saved. They don't need this cost of unwanted medical expenditure is cut off. People can enjoy health, and more tourists will look into India. What is going on here? People are healthy, people are happy, people are not getting infections, inflammation. So neighboring countries and distant countries will look into India, what is happening here. We also want this kind of system. So there will be healthy international collaborations will come. And finally, the entire world, actually Ayurveda is meant for Loka Sangraha. It's not like Bharata Sangraha. Loka Sangraha means universal well-being. It's meant for the entire universe. So this is happening by science-based, evidence-based Ayurveda guidelines and principles. So I hope that these things are conveyed well to you. I'm sorry that I cannot go through your messages. Still I try. My vision is not that good. I'm having short sight. So I'm just trying to read. Okay. Okay, but still, if you have any questions, feel free to communicate with me for anything. And don't expect any online consultation with us, because SBBA practitioners will not be doing online consultation. We are not treating we are not treating reports, we are treating patients. So if you send us reports, we cannot do anything rather than merely looking into it. So if you are consulting, you should be contacting me, my mail ID, or if you want, you can contact me, or SBBA practitioners in your locality. There are not many SBBA practitioners in India. Right now we are trying to make so many increase in number by this our humble approach, as we are not getting any support from government, both state and central government. We are striving hard to establish, means to spread all over India first with this truth of Ayurveda, the true essence of Ayurveda. So need all your prayers and blessings for this, our entire mission, our entire family, and may God bless you, may God give you good health. Thank you. Namaste.